Greetings everyone, I am Sister Lilia and welcome to my armory. So, over the past week I've been both dealing with illness and working on cosplay stuff. And I'm here to share some of that work with you. So first up we've got an Imperial Legion shield, or heavy armor shield. So with it, I'm cleaning up the wood texture layer that's been done entirely out of foam, because if I made it out of wood this thing would weigh absolutely way too much. Plus I haven't got the tools for wood. So yeah, now what I'm doing is a relatively straightforward job. Now first off I've got to build up the layers of foam, or pieces of foam that are cut to all the same thickness, and then after they're glued down I've got to come in and texture them up with a knife to add in that fake wood grain. And I just am completing a few other spots where some of it has ended up incomplete. Now I'll do the banding after this video, but before that I do the texturing. So the texturing will be exaggerated after this with some heat, and I come in and fill some of the gaps in a bit with foam clay that I'll paint up to look like resin. Now the canoness power sword, I wanted to make one of these for a while, and this is going to be the biggest power sword in my collection, but probably not bigger than my eviscerator. So first off I started by drafting up the point for the blade. It's about the only part that actually has a template for the core blade itself, because I didn't really need a template when it's like two long straightish lines, and I spent ages agonizing over the shape and eventually get it to be almost a straight rectangle, but instead it's kind of slightly angled towards one end. Not that that's terribly noticeable on the final prop, but these things happen. Initially I cut it out in a way too dramatic a shape, because I kind of got things a little bit off, but these things happen. You can see some of the mess there, pardon the mess. But yeah, marking it out and putting it in there. Then I cut them out and marked in some of the details. I went, hold up, this is not right. I'm going to just fix these and put it to be the right shape. Now, don't worry about the actual foam offcuts from this. I have a use for them. There will be a terrain video at some point where I make use of the massive amount of foam scraps I've generated over the last 2 years. So you see me coming in here, marking out a channel for the center to be able to stick that dowel in, making sure that it's just wide enough for the dowel to go in and for there to be glue, because it's easier to hot glue the dowel in than just to hot glue the whole thing together. And because of a relatively limited supply of hot glue compared to what I would need for this, I end up opting for a different glue option. I also make use of more than just the intended tools. Now, that pipe cutter from earlier is very useful for actually cutting dowel. Now, I trimmed off the end because the end was a bit messy, but that happens when you don't use a saw on dowel. Now, taking out the core again and smoothing it down and pressing it a bit to get it a bit more circular, and generating far too much mess in the process. Now I come in here and shove in hot glue and shove the core in, pressing it down as I go with a pattern weight that I've had for the last decade. I come in with a bit of hot glue to further reinforce the pipe into the dowel into the center. Then I shape off the ends to better make it closer to the shape I need, and then come in with foam adhesive. Now, this stuff you will have seen Zorp use in his videos, I think, and I'll probably come back and use it later for terrain. Probably be sticking skewers through it at that point, but I had the advantage of hot glue this time to get things to sit in shape. And you can see just how hot that glue is from the steam it let out. Now we've got the blade, and I am adding in the bevels as we go. So markings in for the bevels. Then we have bevel 1. bevel 2 and the point put in, and then we start on the up, then we do the other side. Now the other side was a bit of a pain in the ass, getting it smooth, but these things happen. And then we have the start of the hand grip. So I've made the handguard template. I need to actually cut out the handguard, but well, these things happen. We've got the skulls that go on both sides of the handguard part of, or on the both sides of the cross guard. Now I'm putting air dry clay into a icing skull mold and freezing it. I love the fact that you can freeze foam clay and air dry clay. I mean, technically they're kind of the same thing, but they're also slightly different. The stuff I use goes a bit harder than dedicated foam clay, and hey, apparently US folks might be able to get it from Lumen's workshop again. Now you can see I just took it out of the freezer here and demolded it. It came right out of the mold because it was frozen. Pro tip, do not leave it to dry in the mold. It becomes a pain in the ass to get out. And I've ruined more than one Oyamaru mold doing that. Now I'm pressing in some more foam for the other one, for the other side, and I'm pressing in some more foam clay for the other side, and next up, the first Genshin prop for the channel now. Not the first Genshin prop I've worked on, but this one's more likely to get completed than the other one will be, since I'm doing a cosplay that will need a catalyst. So, in the lead up to the release of the current patch, this thing was teased, and I was like, okay, this thing looks cool, I want to make one. It took me all of last week and a good chunk of this week to be able to actually get the damn things I needed to build it in-game, which put off my building it in person. So you see me struggling here, cutting through the pipe, and eventually just break it out of frustration. This pipe here is going to form the core for the light section, and hence my wrapping it in LEDs. I bought a whole big strip originally for a different prop, but the materials to make that prop aren't in the budget at the moment, so I'm doing a static version, a non-light up version of that prop, which you'll see in a moment. So I'm cutting through the pipe here so that I can stick the LEDs out the bottom of it and maybe put some structure around it. So the core layer of the light up chamber has these multicolour LEDs. Now, the camera settings for the lights look kind of weird, but I'm just showing off the light settings, and it does even have a strobe mode, so you can do the party mode. I mean, it's no Theoden's rave at Helm's Deep, but yeah, sorry if that causes trouble. Now, yeah, this is kind of where I'm up to this week. I would have loved to get more done, but these things happen. Unfortunately, dealing with illness, that's how it is. But, yeah, it's 3 weeks till PAX. Help! I've got to get so much done. But either way, it'll be fun to get it there, and I look forward to the event. That being said, if you're planning on going to PAX Australia next month, if you haven't got your tickets yet, there are still Friday and Sunday tickets available. The weekend and the Saturday passes have all sold out, unfortunately. If you're wanting to get them, I'd jump on it. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Bye.